How's it going, everybody? Hope you guys are having a good holiday break. Hope you guys are spending the time that you need with your family, friends, whatever loved ones are close to you, whether they're people or animals or whatever you hold close to you. I'm definitely glad to have a bit of breathing room myself between the semesters. I remember one of the Christmases I spent with my family was a year that I got tens of old phone books. I'm not kidding, and that's actually something that I was really excited to get, because I use phone books sometimes to make special kinds of paper airplanes that fly for an unlimited amount of time. If you've never heard of those kinds of paper airplane designs, they're called follow foils, and they're actually really cool. They're definitely worth checking out on YouTube or something. One particular person that does a lot of follow foil stuff is a paper airplane master, John Collins, also known as the Paper Airplane Guy. And he's a world record holder, former world record holder for paper airplane distance, and my personal friend. I'm not kidding. I do have a connection with the real paper airplane guy. And it's quite a story of how we met and became friends. And that's something I kind of want to share here because it has something to do with not just my passion for paper airplanes, but also wanting to learn about the universe in general. And I'm sure that, in a way, this can also apply to you. As I explained in the Love of My Life video where I talked a bit about how I found my romantic partner, I used to be a part of the public school system until I was pulled out of that system. There's a multitude of reasons as to why that's the case, but the main reason is because I was a target in a notorious amount of bullying from multiple people. What's nice is that the staff and everyone that I was talking to was really understanding of my situation and really encouraged me to engage in independent study. They thought I had a pretty good future. So at the very beginning of 2016, I started doing homeschool. We didn't really have a system because it was all so sudden. It was a very quick bout of decision making. But we were eventually able to find our footing. Things were so last minute that we actually ended up getting my grandma to teach me science. One of the things she actually did for her class, and also for an early birthday gift, was that she got me the New World Champion paper airplane book written by John Collins. It not only included instructions on how to make many of his paper airplane designs, including the world record breaking one that he designed called the Suzanne, he also explained a lot about how these paper airplanes functioned, all the science behind them, and the story of how he broke the world record for paper airplane distance. John Collins actually did something pretty innovative and mind-blowing for a lot of people. Then that is, he broke the world record for distance not with a dart design, but a glider. Gliders fly slower than darts, but they do generate more lift and can fly much more efficiently compared to basically a stick with fins, so a javelin made of paper essentially. There were a lot of design challenges that came along with creating this world record breaking design. John transitioned from using a dart to creating a glider with significantly bigger wings, and then modifying that glider design to make the wings just a little bit smaller to increase the wing loading and increase the speed. There's also the matter of finding the right paper with a good enough thickness so that it can handle a harder throw, and finding a good thrower who won't destroy the plane. John went through a few different guys trying to find the right candidate to throw the Suzanne without destroying it, until he found a quarterback named Joe Ayub, and that's Booyah spelled backwards if you want to look him up too. Together, John and Joe broke the world record for paper airplane distance in February 26th, I believe, 2012. And they were able to get a world record throw-in, flying the Suzanne 226 feet and 10 inches in an indoor controlled environment, so basically just a big hangar in Mojave. The two of them held this world record for 10 years, up until 2022 when it was broken twice. And it turns out, the design that broke John's world record in April of 2022 was a glider design, and it was even shorter and even wider. So that seems to be the trend for world record breaking designs in terms of flight distance, which I think is pretty cool. And if you can't tell already, I'm a bit of a John Collins fan. Even a couple of weeks after I got that first book from him, I ended up buying another one of his books called The Gliding Flight. And when that was mailed to me, I saw something else that was mailed alongside it. And it turns out it was one of his designs folded just for me. Here's a picture of it. This is his Starfighter design. And this is another famous design of his, which was sent to Spain, and it actually won an international distance competition. I think that's pretty neat. Folded and signed just for me. And I was like, man, I wish I could beat this guy. And just a few months later, that's what I did. It was a really out-of-the-blue trip, but we ended up going to the Hiller Aviation Museum in San Carlos, where he basically gave a presentation on all of his paper airplane designs and explaining the science behind all of them. He's a super chill guy, and he actually got me into designing my own paper airplanes. So much so that I'm eventually going to end up writing and publishing a book where people can learn how to make all of these kinds of different designs. This is my own way of learning how the universe works and playing with the box. And that's actually a term that I learned from John. If you look it up on YouTube, The Paper Airplane Guy TED Talk, you'll probably find that pretty easily, where he talks about his personal box, which has basically been paper airplanes for over 50 years at this point. But what is the box? Well, let me preface it with this. Have any of you read any Calvin and Hobbes comics? In some of the comic strips, written and illustrated by Bill Watterson, Calvin and Hobbes go on adventures that revolve around a box. The box can be whatever Calvin wants it to be. He can use it as a transmogrifier, where he turns himself into an animal like a tiger, which is an actual story that happens in the comic strips. There's also some where he goes back in time to look at dinosaurs. And there's also another story where he uses a box as a duplicator to duplicate himself to do tasks all at once. One duplicate Calvin does the dishes, the other goes to school, and the third does homework, and things like that. But eventually there's an uproar between all of the duplicate Calvins, and they figure out that the best way to resolve their complications is by, I don't know, killing the real Calvin or something. It's been a hot minute since I've read these books, but I do remember how it ends. Calvin takes his duplicator, traps the duplicate Calvins inside of that box, scribbles out the word duplicator, and by writing transmogrifier on the side of the box, turns the box into a transmogrifier, which he uses to turn the duplicate Calvins into worms. That is the epitome of cartoon logic, but it does also help explain my own box analogy. The box can be whatever you want it to be. And it has no rules or limitations other than the ones that you give to the box. You have more freedom to play with the box in ways that you quote-unquote aren't really supposed to, as opposed to, let's say, an object in the box. Let's say you're a scientist working on some kind of hypothesis. You're looking through, let's say the thing in the box is old data that's already been processed. It's already been looked at, it's been thoroughly studied. You can't really make any new advancements with data that's already been worked on. So what is there to do? Don't look at the thing inside of the box. Find out what you can do with the box instead. That's where you can innovate, because the box has no rules or limitations other than the rules, limitations, parameters that you set. And if you can work with that box and find good solutions, that means that you're a really good thinker. And that, I think, is something that the world could definitely use, especially today. Because, to quote what John has said to me multiple times, and something that I've heard him say in many of his presentations, we need everyone to be thinking, because we don't have any more spare brains on the planet. So yeah, that's what I've been kind of thinking about recently, and I figured I'd share it here. Hope you all found this informative, and thank you for listening. I'll see you very soon. Happy holidays.